what I'd like to show you today is a feature that is very similar to sheet sets. In fact, it has all the sheet set features, but it also has some other project file management features that I think many of you guys might find interesting. If you're familiar with sheet sets, this should come pretty easy to you. This is a feature called Project Navigator. Let me try to undock this here real quick. All right, so what this is it's called Project Navigator, and Project Navigator is only available in AutoCAD MEP and AutoCAD Architecture. It's not available in vanilla AutoCAD, whereas sheet sets is available in vanilla AutoCAD. So inside Project Navigator, there's a few features that you can set up prior to starting your job. There's some information here that you can fill out as project name, number, description. There's some detailed information in here. You can fill out these fields. These are all attributed fields, so they can be called into your sheet files. In fact, we do use these features, but we did not use them on this project. It makes for very easily changing your template files in your sheet sets pretty easy. So there's a lot of fields in here you can fill out. We don't use anything beyond this first list, but it's there if you want to use it. There's a section here for levels. The way this works is if we can assign a drawing, we can assign a drawing file to a level, and then when we XREF those together, it'll recognize that this drawing needs to be at this elevation. Depends on how you draw. We draw with actual sea level coordinates, so having our projects automatically XREFing in the right elevations, not some feature that we want to take advantage of. But if you draw based off of 0, 0, let's say all your models are 10 feet off of 0, 0, and you XREF them together and then raise them up, if that's how you work, this feature will improve your process a lot. When you XREF it in, it'll automatically jack that file up to the right elevation. And then the divisions, so this would be similar to your sectors. So you can say that you have a sector, and here's a description of that sector. So when you create a file, we'll go in here, we can say that there's an architectural drawing. We'll look at the properties. So this architectural drawing, I stopped using this feature to try to troubleshoot an issue I was having, but it turns out it was another issue, and I'll explain that to you later. But we can assign that this is level 0, and since this is an overall architectural floor plan, we can assign this to every single sector in level 0, so that when we XREF this in, it's going to come in here and it's going to scan. If we XREF this architectural background into the model, it's going to recognize that this is level 0 and it's valid for all these sectors. And we do that. We can do that to all of our backgrounds, to the grid layouts, any sort of background that you've exported from the architect. Inside the elements, you can have, I like to store any sort of equipment that we have in the project that's not necessarily needs to be saved to the folders. Things that I don't convert to ITM files. Here's my section keys for the overall sectors. Templates, I keep my templates, things like that in here. I've heavily reduced this in the future projects, just because I am taking advantage of these detailed information here. We can fill all this out, have custom data fields. That way I don't need to have so many different templates. But in this project, that's how it was done. So these are basically your XREFing and blocks that you would bring into a file. Here's where I keep our models organized basically by level. Some people would prefer to organize by system and then by level. It can be done any way you want to do it, but having access to your files right here within AutoCAD and not having to use Windows Explorer every 10 minutes that you want to pad to an XREF or another file is very convenient and actually saves you quite a bit of time. So let's pretend I want to start drawing on this drawing and just bring in an architectural background for that's the archive. Just bring in the 2D background. You can right click on this and XREF it in using these features here: attach, overlay, or insert it as a block. Typically we would use a XREF as overlay, and it automatically brings it in there for you. I don't need to go through the typical XREF feature. And then I can come down here to, let's say I need to bring in my level 0 2D of the duct, so we'll XREF that in. Alright, now we can come over here and bring in whatever else we need to bring in. Let's say I need to bring in something from the underground. We can bring that in as well, just by right clicking and XREFing that stuff in, and then I can get started drawing and working in my project. When I'm done drawing, or right off the bat before I do anything else, I should save the drawing. So we'll save this as level 0. We'll say this is I forget what I XREF'd in here, but we'll save this under the HVAC folder. We'll save current drawing. This is the current drawing that I have open. I'm going to save this as general. It's not a section view, it's not a detail, it's just a general drawing. And we can name it. We'll name this temporary, so I can remember to come back and delete it. And if you'll recognize this, this is where I can tell it that, alright, this is going to be, I'm going to be working in level 0, BA, BS, and BN, and BC, and BE. So what this will do is it'll scan through all the files inside the constructs folder and look for files that are also valid for those sectors on that level, and it'll ask me if I want to XREF those in, and it will bring those in automatically for me. What I don't like about that is that a lot of times we have a lot of backgrounds that are not needed in every single drawing, so I don't use that feature because we end up with too many XREFs in a drawing, and then I spend a lot of time de-XREFing stuff. So we just skip that feature and hit finish, and there's my drawing right there inside the project folder. And I can get to this through to Windows Explorer really easy by coming down here and going to Show in Windows Explorer. Just click on that, and here we go. It popped open Windows Explorer for me, and there's my file, temporary.dwg. These XML files are how the program finds that this DWG file needs to be in here. If there is no XML file, it's not going to find it. If I delete that, this will not be displayed in Project Navigator, even though it is inside of Windows Explorer. So that's pretty handy. And then for those of you that are familiar with sheet sets, these are all the standard sheet set features. Nothing extra added here. All the awesome printing, and I really enjoy sheet sets and this whole feature just because it helps me keep all my naming conventions and things like that organized and right on target. There's a lot of information online about Project Navigator. I'm not going to go through every single feature because honestly some of the features I don't know, and I'm not that interested in diving really deep into it. I think it's mostly set up for designers, not really for fabricating. So tweak it and make it work for us as much as possible, and just move on with it. The feature that I don't use is let's see, which one is it? Let's look at another one. It's one that'll repath the XREFs. Alright, so what this does is, here's the old path and here's the new path. So what it'll do is it'll scan through all the files and look at the old paths and then update that XREF with how that file has changed. What I found happens is that if I have the pipe database loaded, it caches the pipe information, and if I'm changing a duct drawing using this feature, it will take the pipe cache and shove it into the duct drawings and completely corrupt that drawing. So I stay away from that feature. Very awesome feature. If your database has both CAD and duct in it, this should be an acceptable feature for you. I don't think you would have a problem with it. Or if you just use pipe, or if you just use duct, being the way that we have ours set up, two separate databases, one for duct, one for pipe, this feature is not going to work for us. So, and we don't, any sort of feature that is going to automatically correct the drawing, it's not a very good idea to use. So there's a quick rundown of Project Navigator. Hopefully you'll find this useful. Shoot me an email or something if you have any questions.